Hey, welcome into this week's episode of the Cincinnati Podcats. I'm your host, T Money. That's the main man, Giggsy, over in Raleigh in the Carolinas. We're here to talk everything Bearcats, the good, the bad, and the especially ugly this week. You know, we're going to dive into a lot of different things. But before we do, Greg, how you doing?
I'm okay.
Yeah, just hurting a little bit.
Yeah.
Sound a little down in the dumps like most Cincinnati fans.
Yeah. I mean, yesterday I was angry. Today I'm just,
yeah,
it sucks, but nothing we can do. We're in a rigged system and we'll talk about it.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. Tough one to be a Bearcats fan here. Hey, we are the highest ever group of 5 ranked team in the college football playoff. So that's great. We're number 6 in the country right now. So we're going to dive into the committee rankings, not just where Cincinnati is, but how we feel about a lot of the rankings from 1 to 25. We're going to jump into some Heisman Watch, and then we'll recap the game and preview the next game against Tulsa and maybe give you a little bit of recruiting rankings or while we're at it. So it's going to be an exciting episode. But before we get into that, let's get into Chili Labs, our sponsor of the Cincinnati Podcats here. Chili Labs is owned and operated by a UC alum and is the most affordable lab-tested CBD on the market. You can find out more at chililabs.com and use the promo code CATS for 10% off. So let's dive in. Greg, off the top of your head, just immediate initial gut reaction to these rankings.
Disgusting. Stupid. Completely SEC biased.
Yeah.
And Big Ten also, though somehow Penn State wasn't in it, which blew my mind. But I don't know. What how about you?
No, yeah, it was pretty upsetting. I mean, to be honest, I went into this a little pessimistic already. I, had watched enough and read enough, and I just knew that they were going to do everything they could to downgrade Cincinnati. I didn't think it'd be as conniving as they were, but we can get into that. Real quick, the rankings here. We got Georgia number 1, Alabama at 7-1 at number 2, Michigan State at 8-0 at number 3, Oregon at 7-1 with a loss to Stanford at number 4, Ohio State, who has lost to Oregon, at 7-1 at number 5, and then Cincinnati, Michigan, Oklahoma, Wake Forest, Notre Dame, wrapping up the top 10. I honestly thought we'd be number 8 going in.
And, did you really?
Yeah, I did. I thought they would really try to discredit Cincinnati. I thought Oklahoma would be above us, and I thought Michigan would be above us. So I although I am disgusted that it is a complete sham, because I think Oregon and Alabama is what upsets me the most. So Alabama losing to Texas A&M, they have them at number 14 team in the country. That's just a prop. That's just a prop to Alabama. They don't have any solid wins other than Alabama. Their next best win is versus Missouri. So they really don't have any reason to be up there. And then you have Mississippi State, who's Alabama's actual best win. They have 3 losses, highest 3-loss team in the country, and they're the number 17 team in the country. That's what upsets me the most here. They have a win at Texas A&M, at UK, and at Vanderbilt here, but their losses are Memphis, LSU, and Alabama. I mean, I don't know how a 3-loss team is in this, losing to Memphis. But I think that's what shocked me here is they're propping up Alabama this much at 7-1, showing them that Texas A&M, the 14th team in the country, that is a good loss. And then Mississippi State is their best win. That's a good win. I think both of those are atrocious.
Yep. And, so I agree that I'm the most upset about Oregon and Alabama. But the more and more I keep thinking about Alabama and looking at their schedule, they won at the beginning of September at Miami by a lot when De'Aaron King was playing. They beat Florida, Florida's okay. They killed Ole Miss and they killed Mississippi State, which I know, again, Mississippi State's a prop. They are not a good team. And their one loss on the road to, what do they call it? Texas A&M, the 12th man, those fans.
But it was a backup QB.
Yep. Yeah. I don't know. I just hate that it sets it up for Alabama when they get to the end of the season and they roll through LSU, Arkansas, and Auburn. They can lose to Georgia and they're 100% in. Okay, maybe not
tough.
100%, but I think the way that the committee propped them up at 2, they can lose to the number 1 team in the country. They lost to an unranked Texas A&M and dropped, where'd they go? 2-6, I think, in the AP poll. So what happens when they lose to number 1 Georgia in the SEC championship? They go from 2 to 3 or 4, somewhere around there.
Pretty crazy.
I think it's almost guaranteed, unless they slip up in these last 4 games, to me, that they're in the playoff.
Yeah, it's shocking. I truly don't think they would put a 2-loss team in there, but who knows? The other one with Oregon and Ohio State, I know they both say, the committee chair came on and talked after the rankings were released, and they said, what's our next best win? We struggled at Navy, we struggled at Tulane, but when you look at Oregon, we both have top 10 wins on the road. We struggled at Navy, sure, but you struggled at Cal. You struggled at Stanford, and then you lost. And you struggled versus Fresno State and UCLA and all. We have blown people out and struggled and won. And they've had they haven't really blown anyone out, and they struggle every game. And they lost one of those struggles.
They blew out Stony Brook.
They blew out Stony Brook. That's right.
So that's why the committee put them in.
So my biggest thing here is you're rewarding people in the Power 5 for stumbling, but because we have a close game and stumble and don't win or do win, we get penalized. So if we had gone and played a Power 5 team and lost, we would get. Would we be ranked higher? I mean, it's just ridiculous. Ohio State has 0 wins versus ranked teams. 0 wins versus ranked teams. Now, I know their schedule's backloaded, but they have 0 wins. You're going to give them this for beating up on Maryland and Rutgers?
Is it crazy to think that I actually think Ohio State should be ranked higher than Oregon? Is that
I agree
Oregon
with you there.
Beat them? I mean, like you said, they've basically played nobody. They were in a really bad rut until Kerry Coombs got the defensive play calls taken away and Ryan Day's been calling. Since then, they flipped the switch. They have the committee loves to say, like, quality loss. They have a quality loss. Oregon lost to 3-5 Stanford. Like, where does that not count? Like,
that's
I
my
don't
problem
understand.
is they use it for one and then they switch up the reasoning for another. That's what I don't like is the parity and how they choose their people here. Now Ohio State can easily jump Oregon here. They play Michigan State, they play Penn State, they play Michigan. They're going to get their chance. So it will be very interesting. I guess me and you are rooting for Michigan State to go undefeated here, or Purdue upsets and Minnesota upsets. We need basically all the upsets just for Cincinnati to get in. We know that. But really, I think best case scenario is Michigan State going undefeated and just one Big Ten team getting in. We don't need a 1-loss Michigan or a 1-loss Michigan State getting into the playoff ahead of us.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. I'm still tossing so many scenarios around in my head, but I think I'm on that page. But at the same time, I almost kind of want to see Ohio State win out, because Ohio State beats Michigan State. Michigan State's out. Ohio State wins at Michigan. Michigan has 2 losses. They're out. Then that guarantees there's only one Big Ten team.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think a scenario where 2 make it is very unlikely, but it's almost, to me, as high as they're ranked, and I think they're a lot better than Michigan State and Michigan. I'm almost on board with just hoping Ohio State beats everybody.
Yeah. My only concern would be Michigan State getting that 4 spot if Ohio State beats them. That would be my only concern. But as we move down, shockingly, Oklahoma undefeated 9-0 was at number 8. That was pretty crazy.
Dude, I think they got it worse than us, honestly. I mean,
yeah,
it looks worse for us because we're 2 in the AP poll and the coaches poll, and we're 6th in the first CFP ranking. But when Oklahoma debuted at 8,
Shocking.
That blew my mind because the Oklahoma is the committee's darling. They absolutely love Oklahoma every single year. It's Bama, Georgia, Oklahoma, Ohio State, Clemson, Notre Dame. So for them to actually not respect them, which I agree with, they have struggled. We've covered this a ton in the past, how they just don't play well this year. Even bringing Caleb Williams in, like they almost lost to Kansas. So like it's funny that the committee actually respects us more than Oklahoma. But you got to look at it. We have the second best win on the entire season, at least for playoff caliber teams.
Yes.
I'll say Texas A&M's win was probably better, those at home.
Yeah, but they can't make
and they don't have a single chance. And Oregon winning at Ohio State, better win than ours. Fully admit that. But we have the second best win, so I get it, but it's that blew my mind, honestly.
Yeah, pretty crazy. I think the big thing here, though, they play Baylor, they play Oklahoma State. Both are ranked in the top 12, so they can easily jump back up there. And I think that that's what they're waiting for. As soon as they beat a ranked team, boom, right ahead of Cincinnati. Not going to be surprised when that happens. And that Wake Forest, though, can they make the playoff? Be honest with me. They go undefeated. Can they make it? I mean, you're going to leave a Power 5 undefeated champion out. I'm just saying it's pretty wild.
Okay, so they still play. I haven't even looked at their schedule the whole season because
I think they lose this weekend playing North Carolina
at UNC.
They're underdogs in Vegas, but I still think it would be wild for them to not make it.
I honestly think NC State could get them the following week.
Yeah.
I mean, actually, if we want to talk about backloaded schedules, I know the ACC is terrible, but you have 4 of the best ACC teams that they have to play at the end of the season between UNC, NC State, Clemson, and Boston College. So
yeah,
I don't think they get out undefeated, but I mean, even if they do, I think, I mean, you look
joke
at their
of
schedule,
a league.
Like they've beaten absolutely nobody.
Like, Virginia might be their best win. That's probably it.
Yeah. Yep. That's probably it. But I do find that like insane if they do get through the season undefeated, like an undefeated Power 5 team, especially from the ACC, where Clemson's the undefeated team from the ACC every year. Like that would never be a question. But we go undefeated, they go undefeated. I think it's hands down we would get in over them for the last spot.
I agree with that. Luckily, we got Notre Dame ranked at number 10. I think that they're just going to continue to move up, which is great. They don't play a tough schedule. I think they played their hardest game this past week versus North Carolina. I think they're going to finish undefeated or with 1 loss, which is great for us. So hopefully they can continue to win. Wake Forest loses. Michigan loses to Ohio State. You know, that's a top 8, top 7 win for us. They'll never jump us.
Hey, Notre Dame does have Stanford, that juggernaut, that
juggernaut,
Oregon at the very last game of the season.
Well,
so
they should just lose to them, and then maybe they can make a playoff run here.
They'll probably jump us if they lose to Stanford. That's a quality loss, man.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive. So as we move down here, you know, we jump in and we hit, you know, the Mississippi States, the Kentuckys, the BYUs, all these guys. I think what sticks out to me the most here is they've left out UTSA, who's number 16 and undefeated in the AP poll. They left out Houston, which is 7-1 and just had a big win, and they 7 straight wins. They left out SMU, who is 7-1 and just lost their first game on a last-second kickoff return. Yeah. They left out Louisiana, who's 7-1, and Coastal Carolina, who's 7-1. And I think the trend here is if you don't play a Power 5 team and win, we don't care about you.
And if you're not a Power 5 team,
yes,
we don't care about you. Yep.
What really jumps out to me, though, and this I think upsets me more than anything the committee did this past weekend, is the fact that they kept Houston and SMU out of these rankings. The AP poll has Houston number 20 and SMU number 23. And their sneaky way they are trying to keep Cincinnati out of the college football playoff is making sure they do not play another ranked team for the rest of the year. Because if we ended up getting a win versus the number 20 team in the country, just like Ohio State just did versus Penn State, And then we play the number 17 Houston in the AAC championship game, and we negate one of Alabama's wins versus Auburn. What is keeping us out of the playoff? So what they do is they don't rank either of them, and now they downgrade the rest of our schedule and our strength of schedule for the rest of the year. Their sneaky way of keeping Cincinnati truly from ever getting to the playoff.
Yep. I mean, okay, so I can see Houston being ranked by the end of the season because barring any insanity, they're going to beat USF, Temple, Memphis, and UConn. Wow. Okay. They're playing UConn the last game of the season. So
yeah,
I think they go 11-1. They're going to be top 20 at least. But guess what happens when we beat them in the AAC championship and they're top 20? They're going to drop out of the top 20. Committee reviews it, goes, oh, like you said, we only beat Notre Dame. We beat one ranked team on the season.
Mm-hmm.
I think so. By the time we'll get to SMU, they'll most likely be 9-1. I think even at that point, that's two more ranking shows, or maybe just one. No, two more ranking shows. I think they'll be in the top 25 by the time we play them on November 20th.
I hope so.
Again, we beat them. They finished the season 10-2. I have a feeling they will not end up ranked either.
Yep.
So
it really hurts. And that's the biggest thing is people are bringing up our strength of schedule and what I like to point out is our strength of record.
I was just going to say that. Thank you.
Our strength of record here is number 6 in the country. All right. Number 6, Ohio State's 14, Oregon's number 10. Obviously Georgia, Alabama, and Michigan State are all top 4, but we're number 6 in the country right now. That strength of record means what would an average top 25 team be in if they had this schedule? Our strength of schedule, yes, I know we're 100th in the country. I get that. But we're eventually going to play SMU. We're eventually going to play Houston. These things will work itself out. But Ohio State's schedule is 74th. They're no juggernaut of strength of schedule here. Yep. Like Oklahoma's is 69th. Michigan State's is 50th. Can we pump the brakes on acting like our strength of schedule is not that much different than Ohio State, whose strength of record is 14th. Ours is 6th. Yep. They've lost a game. We haven't. Like, that's what's frustrating me is they're using it against us when they're not looking at the whole picture.
Yep. And to that point, if Ohio State wins out, I have not a single issue with them being in the playoff.
No, they look solid. They look solid.
And they have been beating up on bad teams, as you should when you're a potential playoff committee team. Yeah. So if they beat Michigan State and Michigan, no complaints at all. Put them in the playoff. I think they fully deserve that. But right now, they do not deserve it over us. They've beaten nobody.
Yep. So we'll see. We're going to move on here from the committee. We're going to try to move on in a more positive note. We vented. We got out our anger here. We're going to do a breakdown and scenarios next week on how we think Cincinnati can still get into the playoff, even though it's going to be a tough one. So we'll move on from this, and we'll move on here to the Heisman Watch for Desmond Ridder. Right now, he is the 8th favorite. He keeps sliding down, not surprising after the past 2 weeks. So he's number 8. And then we have our running back, Jerome Ford, as well, tied for 13th. So any thoughts on that? Ridder moving up? What are you thinking?
Ridder's slipping. Same thing like you just said. I'm not surprised that he's going to keep dropping. And it's sadly, he's maybe getting out of reach. Like I said before, is all I want him to do is be a part of the invites. So I think he's sliding out of that, but who knows? He goes on a tear these last handful of games, these last 4 games plus the championship, and maybe he makes it. But I still also just love that Ford's hanging around. I mean, he almost has 1,000 yards on the season. He's been having an amazing, he's averaging 6.4 yards per game, 14 touchdowns on 135 carries for just under 900 yards. Like, I think that's fully deserved, and that's pretty awesome to see.
Yeah, he is the 15th most yards in the country and the 3rd most touchdowns. I just look at a couple of guys ahead of Ritter because our goal is at least to get Ritter to the Final Four in New York, right? If I'm looking at a couple of these guys here, Kenneth Walker's making it. I think Bryce Young's making it. CJ Stroud struggles down the stretch. You never know. He might slip a little bit. Matt Corral playing Liberty this week. You get to 3 losses. I don't know if you can make it to New York. Then you got Kenny Pickett. I think Pittsburgh's going to lose at least another game probably. Caleb Williams loses to Baylor or Oklahoma State, starts regressing to the mean a little bit. There's spots for him to move up. There's definitely room if he starts blowing some guys out, but that's what we need is for Ford and Ritter to start balling out like we've expected them to versus these past 2 weeks.
Yep. And I mean, I think that Oklahoma definitely can slip up because Caleb Williams comes in extremely highly touted recruit, but there's no film on him. I mean,
no.
So you're expecting Spencer Rattler. He comes in during the Texas game. I understand why he's been playing pretty well, but yeah, I think eventually there's going to be enough film on him. He's going to slip up. He'll drop. But yeah, I just get me Dez to New York, and that's all I care about. He can come in 4th. Don't care.
Fine with me. Me. So we'll see what happens. Still got a lot of games left to play. But speaking of games, let's move on here. Little recap of Tulane here. A little disappointing. Cincinnati, big favorites. We won 31-12 versus Tulane. Obviously, that's better than Oklahoma did. They struggled very much with them. I believe it was 38-32,
40-35.
Okay, there you go. Something like that. They let them just go rampant on them. So what were your initial thoughts on this past weekend? We were texting a lot back and forth during the game with some frustration, but what are your thoughts on this?
I mean, I feel like a broken record because I'm pretty sure I say this every single week, at least after the games that we haven't just murdered the opponent.
Yeah.
But the more I look back on it and watch it again, and the game is not as bad as it looks. Like, look, Tulane had one good quarter where they had a safety, field goal, touchdown. They scored 12 points in one quarter. Those were the only 12 points they scored. Overall, Dez was 17-27, which is, I think, about 33%. He's throwing, 63%. He's throwing 64% on the season. So right on his season average, 3 touchdowns. The one interception he threw, someone fell. I think it was Lenny Taylor.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure he fell on his route. So, like, there's nothing you can do about that. It's like a tipped pass. Like, when you hit somebody right in the hands and it's tipped and picked, it's like, that is in no way on the quarterback. And I'm pretty sure Dez has 4 interceptions on the season. I'm pretty sure one of those 4 was
another.
Tipped. So,
yeah.
So, and then Ford was 1865 for 1 touchdown. Josh Wiley, second big game in a row. So
yeah, he's really coming out now.
Exactly. These 2 games that we've struggled, Josh Wiley has had 4 touchdowns and is showing why he is an NFL caliber tight end, just like Leonard Taylor, who amazingly has stepped up since Josh Wiley in the previous 6 games had been bracketed and just fully focused on the entire game.
Yeah.
And finally having his coming out party that I think we all were expecting from the very beginning of the season. And then defense again, I think we had 4 sacks, 6 total tackles for loss. How about that strip sack that went right into I think it was the right tackle's hands, and then he ran for a 7-yard gain. So, like, ran for 15 yards after that. I think that was a Majay strip sack.
Yeah, right at the end there. Yeah,
that was
to the half. Yeah,
frustrating. But I mean, overall, looking back on it, is what it is. We beat them by 19, didn't cover, but we got pretty close. So I'm not too mad.
Yeah. So I think the biggest thing for me here is I have 2 takeaways. The Navy one I could have excused a little bit. It's a tough one, triple option, difficult, slip up. Every once in a while, everyone's allowed to slip up. And I know we won by almost 20 points, but this felt a lot closer than that. We struggled for the first 2 quarters. I felt like 14-12 at half does not look good. And I just feel like we need to start blowing these people out by 30-40 plus. 1-7 Tulane team should not be within a score in the 4th quarter. And that's what's disappointing. And I'm really nervous here moving forwards, specifically about our play calling. That's been what's been really bad is our offensive coordinator play calling. Our defense is great. I'm not worried about our defense. We're going to hold everyone, to turnovers and low points. But our offensive play calling, my gosh, it's just Jerome Ford run up the middle, Des Ritter throw a fade bomb, to Pierce or something. Like, it is so uninventive. It's I just know what we're going to do before every play. And if I do, then those expert defensive coordinators that we're eventually going to play are definitely going to know. It's pretty poor offensive play calling.
And I think we've been putting ourselves in like a really bad position. Like you said, like throw a bomb fade to Pierce, which is, I mean, he's going to catch that 70% of the time. But when he doesn't, you're now second and 10.
Yeah.
So what are you going to do? They're expecting pass, or you're going to run on 2nd and 10.
And then it's 3rd and 8.
Exactly. And I mean, as great of a runner as Jerome Ford has been, if the defense is expecting it and game planning for the run on that play, it's like, good luck.
Yeah. That's what scares me is Ritter can play well, but when you're behind the sticks, 3rd and 8, 3rd and 8, 3rd and 7, 3rd and 6, these are long 3rd downs. That's difficult. Now we need to get Ritter on the move more, and he needs to run more. And once again, the first half decision-making just did not look solid to me. And I'm hoping that's play calling. I really am, but a safety is embarrassing. I mean, that is just embarrassing. You should have the ball. I know he was pressured and it's split-second decisions down there, but he just doesn't look comfortable yet. It is weird because he should be one of the best quarterbacks in college football.
Yep. Yeah, that safety was bad. I mean, he had, at least from the few angles that I saw, he at least had a couple pairs of feet to throw the ball at, so you don't get intentional grounding in the end zone. But then also, I mean, if you do, it's the exact same thing that happened anyway. But
yeah,
I mean, that was a pretty well designed blitz. They had, I don't remember if it had to be a linebacker coming right up the middle on a little bit of a delay, but he had a couple guys he could have just gotten the ball out of his hands, and that was frustrating. But I mean, I'm not going to pick him apart for that one, but I agree. These past few games, he has looked a little unsure. And I think that goes back to what we've talked about, is just that he hasn't had to like be the man in previous games, because he can go out for 140 yards and we'll win by 40. So I think these struggles actually might lend themselves to be an actual good thing in the end.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. I'm not worried about us not going undefeated. I just want to keep blowing these guys out, and that's what's frustrating. So let's move on here. We got the Tulsa game coming up. Tulsa 3-5 in the conference. We're 95% chance to win this. We are a 22.5 point favorite. And it's at Cincinnati, and game day is coming to Cincinnati for the first time ever. It's pretty exciting. They're going to be on McMicken Commons there. They're going to head down to see Nippert. It's going to be exciting. 12:30 kickoff. Anything you're looking for? Or sorry, that's 12:30 my time.
Yeah,
sorry, 12:30 Pacific. Anything you're looking for here? Anything you're excited about?
I just think it's a good game to. Are you talking game day or just game in general?
Either one, baby.
Okay. I mean, well, one game day, this is amazing. It's like a little bit bittersweet after what happened last night, but I think we'll probably see some pretty funny signs, and that should be entertaining, and a lot of boos to probably Herb Street. But I guess going game wise, I called it wrong the past two games because I called us blowing Navy and Tulane out, and they both used the exact same gameplay of keep away and let's run the ball a ton and keep the ball out of their offense.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? A small thing on that, the way Mike Tressel plays, we like some of our corners will sit back and allow those like 7-8 yard passes. So it's, if they want to play keep away, we like sort of lend ourselves to allowing long drives. We're extremely stout in the red zone, but that's kind of, I think, a detriment to his defensive strategy, is that his philosophy is kind of susceptible to a keep away type game.
Yeah.
So, but I think we're going to go in, and I'm going to say it 3 weeks in a row. I think we're going to kill Tulsa. I mean, they're 3-2 in their last 5 games. So wins against, but wins against Memphis and USF. So not much. They give up 30 points a game. They're only scoring under 25. So I think we come out angry, based off of being disrespected, and I think it's going to be ugly and Cats by 90.
Yeah, I'm hoping 45-10 game, something like that. That would be awesome. 45-7 game. I'm excited. Game day on campus is just exhilarating. I'm sure we're both bummed we're not going to be there, but this is great for Cincinnati as a university, the Bearcats football team, us moving forward, recruiting. I mean, this is only good things. First time that they're ever coming to Cincinnati. I'm super excited. I also agree. I think we're going to blow Tulsa out because we are going to be pissed off about these rankings. Coaches say they don't look at them or they don't think about them. Well, the players certainly do. And I'm sure Fickle knows. So it's going to be a fun one. I'm excited for this.
Yep. I can't wait. Should be exciting.
Yep. All right. Well, also, I wanted to jump into a little football recruiting news that you said you had for us, Greg.
Little football. So Mario Eugenio, or Eugenio, I think it's actually pronounced. He was a Michigan. I believe he was committed and just decommitted recently. I'll tell you that. Yep, he decommitted almost a month ago. We've been on him for a really long time. He's a 4-star, number 265 player in the country, 16th overall defensive end, and 32nd player in Florida. We just got a crystal ball in for him. He's visiting soon. I don't think it's this weekend off the top of my head, but that's one to keep an eye on. He'll be
all right,
the highest recruit in the 2022 class if we get him. And then also Jojo Bermudez. He's the 104th overall wide receiver, 11th player in New Jersey, top 700, just outside the 700. Yeah, like I said, wide receiver. He's 5'10", 165. So it looks like a little slot guy to me, kind of like a Trey Tucker, Tyler Scott. I mean, Tyler Scott plays on the outside a lot, but small guy, looks fast. I think we just got a crystal ball from him. He's announcing soon. So things are going in the right direction for those two. They're both class of 2022. So I think those are a few guys to definitely keep eyes on.
Great. Let's keep it going. That class of 22 looks awesome. We're excited for them to come in. Really, really big things happening at Cincinnati, even though we were only 6th overall. A little disappointed. That still is the highest ever for a group of 5 in the college football committee rankings. We got game day coming. Big things happening.
Yep.
We have basketball starting this week as well for the Bearcats. We're going to do a full basketball preview next week because this game is not versus anyone that important. So we'll get you a full basketball preview. Yep, we're playing Evansville. We'll do a full basketball preview next week. And we'll also dive into some more college football scenarios on how Cincinnati can make it. So that's it for this week's episode of Cincinnati Podcasts. Greg, what you got else?
Real quick before we go, you said basketball. Was this today? I think this was today. Yeah. Or no, sorry, yesterday at 4. Isaiah Collier. He's the number 19 basketball player in 2023. 5th point guard, number 1 in Georgia. 5-star. We just got in his top 7, and
that's big news.
Along with Auburn, Florida State, Bama, Georgia, UCLA, and USC. So
big names.
So you can't assume we're going to land them, but
hey, great to be up there with those names. Wes Miller doing big things. Miller time, baby, about to start. We'll do a full preview next week. Giggsy, Great talking with you. Let's kick Tulsa's ass this weekend and prove to the committee that they're wrong. Root for every other team in the country that's ranked to lose, and go Bearcats, baby.
Yep. Go Cats.
All right. We'll see you later. Peace.